Hello YouTube, my name is rhianaB and welcome back to my Shadowhunter review reaction series, and today we are going over 3:15 to the Night Children. So some of you may be asking me right now, Rihanna, why is your video delayed yet again? Well, I actually have another excuse. My health is not in question here. My health is perfectly fine. The thing was, I actually just came back from Florida on Monday. I was there for a family wedding, and I didn't get to fly back home until about 10 o'clock on Monday night. So obviously I missed Shadowhunters. I actually stayed till about 2 in the morning to watch the episode at least once, just so I wouldn't get spoiled the minute I hit on Twitter. But I had to watch the episode again so I could take notes, which equals in about 1 full page and 1/2 page of notes for this episode. We've got a lot to cover. But I had to do that. I had to work today, so here I am filming at midnight, but the video is here. We are ready to delve into some insanity, but let's go ahead and get into it. So we start off with Heidi giving a toast to the vampires at the Hotel Del Mar, and I don't know what has happened with her. I don't understand how she's kind of become like this inclusive member of the clan, because as far as I'm aware of, Griffin, who is the current head of the vampire clan in Brooklyn, he doesn't really like Heidi all too much, so I don't know what she did to kind of get into their inner circle. But anyway, she makes a big speech to say that, you know, the Shadow World has had their moment in the sun, now it's to the Night Children to lead the way and to create this new world. We also had a couple of quick little moments with Raphael, who was doing the Holy Trinity with the holy water, although it does burn him, which was really interesting. I thought that was really sweet, actually, that he did that, because he still takes his religion very seriously, although he is a vampire. Then we have Simon, who's waiting outside of what I would assume would be the Prater house, where Jordan is, hopefully recovering as much as he can after being stabbed with a silver blade. And then we have Griffin, who was returning to the scene of the crime at the Jade Wolf, probably to check on what was going on. And then Griffin comes back to the Hotel Del Mar and confronts Heidi that Maya and Jordan have escaped. This doesn't seem to bother Heidi too much, though, because I think she just feels like she's on cloud 9, like she's in complete control. Anything she does, she won't get caught, she won't be the fault person, everyone else will fall to her knees and all that sort of stuff. She just feels like she's in control. We will see how that transgresses throughout the episode, but I want to move on to a more happier moment and into characters that I actually like. Let's move on to our first clip of the evening, which is a Malec clip, and this is of Magnus staying at the Institute. So let's go ahead and get our headphones on, and let's go ahead and watch the clip. Hi, Sleeping Beauty. 2 Sleeping Beauties.
Sleep okay? Like a rock.
Oh, that smile on Alec's face.
Freshly squeezed orange juice. And the full glass. On the perks of living at the Institute. But come on, get out of bed. Breakfast stops starting at 9.
That's so me.
Alexander,
I'm so
I
Magnus.
appreciate the hospitality, but doesn't the Clave have rules against downworlders living?
Oh, we can ignore them.
Rules, they're suggestions.
It's amazing to see how how far he's come.
You're just visiting for an extended period of time. And what would your fellow Shadowhunters think of a warlock wandering the halls? They'd be fine with it. Let's go.
They better be fine with it, because Alec's at an institute and no one messes with Alec and his boyfriend. I loved that moment so much. I mean, obviously, Magnus is going to have to adjust since he has lost his apartment to Lorenzo, but I just love the idea of the two of them living together. Now, we never got a real confirmation if Alec officially moved in with Magnus, because they had that moment in the beginning of season 3 when Alec first asked Magnus to move in, and Magnus said no, it was too fast. But I would assume that maybe he was staying there quite a bit, if not every night, after he lost his magic. So I don't know, I just love the idea of them living together. I just think it's so cute. You know, them bringing each other breakfast in bed and just being so adorable. So I love that scene a lot. And then goes into Pancake Day at the Institute. Yes, we finally see the cafeteria and all the Shadowhunters gathered around and enjoying breakfast in the morning. And we have a quick little moment with Jace and Clary, and then Izzy joins in as well. And then we get joined in by Alec and Magnus. And Magnus is, like I said, he's adjusting to life in the Institute, and one of those includes other Shadowhunters kind of, I don't want to say judging him, but probably judging a tiny, tiny bit from some of them, not from everyone. But this makes him rather uncomfortable, but Alec just tries to reassure Magnus that it's only because there's a warlock at the Institute. That's something they don't see every day, but Magnus can't help but think that it's partially that, but partially other reasons. And I don't blame him. I mean, I can only imagine what it's like to be the new person in a completely different environment. So I feel kind of bad for him in that respect. And we have the first sign of trouble for Magnus this episode. I mean, we already technically had it last episode, but it starts here when he uses magic to transform his breakfast into something a little bit more elegant. And obviously the ringing in his head and the symptoms from the transfer of magic, it's starting to affect him. And this is only the first sign. We're going to see more signs in the future. But after that, we have Clary getting in contact with Luke, who calls Clary from the police station to let her know that he is being arrested and charged with all of the murders at the Jade Wolf, and he wants the Shadowhunters to know about this. And obviously Clary is freaking out. Like, she doesn't know what to think. She doesn't understand what is going on with Luke, and is there any way for the Shadowhunters to help Luke get out of this situation? And speaking of at the police station, Luke pleads guilty to the charges, and obviously he knows most of the people on the police squad, so they assume that there's something more to this, that Luke has been a good cop, he knows right from wrong, so he wouldn't do something like this, like kill a bunch of people. So they figure that there's something wrong and that he's hiding something, which obviously we know definitely Luke is hiding something here. But they're trying their best to get him out of the situation, I would assume. But honestly, with the evidence kind of pointed toward Luke as of right now, it's going to be hard for him to get out of this without something happening. We have a little moment between Maya and Simon when they're trying to get out of Brooklyn, and Maya is obviously suffering some major PTSD, just constant memories and flashes of the Jade Wolf and all of her pack being completely decimated, and this is obviously turning into it's going to be a big effect on her. But I think she realizes that there's a way for her to help, so Simon kind of sort of convinces her to go back to the Institute and hopefully bring Heidi in so that she can see the bitch pay, basically. So speaking of Heidi, I actually have a little clip of Heidi going to the Institute to talk to Izzy and Alec, so here is the clip.
Hey.
Any survivors?
I searched the entire area around the Jade Wolf. I couldn't find anyone.
What about Maya?
She's not among the dead. There's no sign of her.
Vampires...
Because she's tough and she's alive.
This is how wars start, Izzy.
The war's already been set. And here's the high and mighty bitch herself.
She said she had some information. I'm listening.
I know who massacred those werewolves.
Yeah, you. I mean, you technically didn't kill anybody, but you were the one who instigated the whole situation. Ugh, I just hate Heidi. I hate Heidi so much. So she ends up talking to Alec and Izzy about what her story is behind the Jade Wolf incident, and basically puts the blame on everyone except herself, saying that she was just a witness, she'd had nothing to do with it, and if she had any involvement, you know, it wasn't her idea, it was somebody else's idea, da-da-da-da-da. Basically playing herself as the victim, which we all know is a bunch of BS. I just seeing Alec kind of fall into her trap, I wanted to scream at Alec so badly, like, Alec, no! You do not believe what the bitch vampire tells you. But the big card that she plays on Alec is that she brings up the Raphael situation, which I wasn't aware that Izzy never told Alec. I guess I assumed because they're so close that she would have at least mentioned something about it. But obviously she didn't mention anything to Alec, and that becomes a big strain on them because this is something that she should have handled probably a little bit better. And now Alec is a little bit upset about that, but he ends up offering Heidi a clean slate of her crimes and everything else if she can turn in the vampires who attacked at the Jade Wolf, which obviously Heidi, wants to be the one on top. She will throw anyone under the bus that she has to get her own way. So we go back to the police station where Clary and Jace meet Luke, and they are obviously under an invisibility rune. I forgot technically what it's called, but they're hidden from the cameras because we get a quick little glimpse with the security camera inside of the interrogation room, and they're not on the camera, so obviously they're invisible. I want to know if Luke knows that he's being recorded, and I don't know if that has something that he may use that as an advantage so he can maybe pass off as insane, or maybe I don't know. I don't know if he realized what he was talking about, because he was obviously talking about the Shadow World and Shadow World things while the camera's rolling, and obviously someone's gonna watch that. I don't know if that's gonna create a domino effect, kind of like how it did with Ollie back in early season 3. I have no idea. Anyway, Clary is basically begging Luke to not turn himself in and to not accept these charges, because Clary does need her so-called father. I mean, that's what one of her quotes was this episode. She's crying and begging, and basically she says, "I need my dad." And I don't understand why Luke feels the need to do this. Like, I understand that guilt can make you do some pretty stupid, crazy, non-rational things, but to turn yourself into the police and go to jail for life, this is a lot of dead bodies on your hands right now. That's a lot of blood on your hands if you're going to accept that. I don't understand why he feels like this is something he has to do, especially since he worked so hard to find Clary, and she's back. Now he's willing to turn his back on her. Like, I don't understand what's going on in Luke's mind right now, and I hope we get some clarification in the future episodes, because right now I'm not liking what Luke is going through right now. But we move on back to the Institute, where Alec organizes a group of people led by Underhill to basically go and round up the vampires that Heidi accused of being part of the Jade Wolf incident. Once that's done, he actually refuses Izzy to go along with it, and then she offers to bring in Raphael to face his consequences. And obviously this is going to lead to a very emotional moment, and we'll get to that later. But now we move on to a character returning, and that is Eileen Penhallow. She is back officially as with a new actress. And obviously she's here in New York because she wants to hunt for Jonathan. And she's also a little suspicious of Clary, which is going to lead to some big heated talks and fights, and we'll get to that later. But still at the Institute, we have Maya and Simon coming there to confront Alec about the whole Heidi situation, and also for Maya to identify the vampires who were there and who weren't there. Obviously, she identifies all of them being there, but obviously she's like, well, where the hell's Heidi? She is behind this. We're 100% sure she is behind this. And Alec doesn't really buy it at the beginning because he cleared her of her crimes, and she's the one who brought these vampires in. So he basically asks, where's your proof? Where's your proof that Heidi is behind this? And Maya kind of looks defeated because she's like, I don't know how to prove this. We know that she's involved somehow because that's just who Heidi is. But Simon is actually the one who brings up that there is someone who can bring in evidence. And here we are, we're still at the Institute. So we now have a little moment between Magnus and Underhill. I think something that some of us in the Malec fandom have kind of been wanting for a while, since Underhill's always been kind of like this weird kind of obstacle, kind of not, between Magnus and Alec. And I thought it was just a really cute scene. Magnus is being scanned, I guess, as a registry sort of a thing for him to stay at the Institute. And then Underhill kind of just slides these keys across without really looking at Magnus. And obviously Magnus is like, have I offended you? Like, is there something I've done? And Underhill's like, well, no, not at all. And obviously this brings up the whole thing of Magnus's suspicion that he's being judged for a warlock. Although Underhill describes it as being that there's protocol for downworlders to stay at the Institute, which is the only reason why he's kind of given this sort of attitude. But he kind of lightens up and says, I didn't realize this was a temporary stay, because Magnus is obviously like, I don't want to stay at the Institute. I love Alec, but I don't really want to stay here. I want my own place. And then, of course, I don't know if this was the right call for him to do this, but Underhill talks about the moment in episode 306 when Alec got drunk at the Hunter's Moon and ended up just kind of spewing his relationship frustrations at Underhill. Brings that up with Magnus, and this kind of starts a slight domino effect, and I'll get to that here in a second. Then we go back to the Hotel Del Mort, where Heidi returns and basically lies to her Shadowhunter, saying that there's a rat in the vampire clan, although we all know it's Heidi. And then moving on to a reunion that I didn't think I would really see again, and that was between Raphael and Izzy. Izzy comes to the soup kitchen where Raphael's been working at, and basically says the whole spiel, you know, by the order of the Clave, I am placing you under arrest. And the way that Raphael handled that situation, I just love Raphael's metamorphosis throughout the show, because he started off as like a very vengeful, evil vampire, very stereotypical, but he's evolved into this really caring individual who's kind of come to terms with all the bad things that he's done, and he's willing to take the sacrifices and, you know, do these things that, you know, most people would fear, but he's willing to take it on as a way to kind of release himself from the troubles that he's committed throughout the series. And I think that's one of the best character developments. Raphael's come such a long way, and I'm so happy that he's back and that he's kind of come into this new light. Though sadly, we're gonna have some dark moments with him, I'm afraid, since he is being placed under arrest. But we'll have to wait and see how Raphael continues to shine in this part of Shadowhunters. And now we move on to one of the fights that happen in this episode, and between two badass women. We have Clary and Aileen, who basically go into the training room and do a little sparring, kind of like a banter back and forth. And obviously Aileen is kind of egging Clary on, being like, oh, are you Valentine's daughter? Are you gonna help Jonathan find the sword? Da da da. You let your brother go. And basically punches her in the stomach or did something to her, and she's like, did you really feel that? Good, I want Jonathan to feel it. And this just snaps Clary into what we're calling Dark Clary, and this is the first time we see her, and basically trips Aileen and just starts to pummel the hell out of her face. Like, she goes hardcore on Aileen, and if Jace hadn't intervened, I don't know if she would have stopped. So this is the first time we're seeing Dark Clary emerge, which we got hints of in the trailer that this would happen. This is only the first real sign of it coming out. And obviously Clary is freaked out by this. She doesn't understand what's going on, and she basically runs off to be by herself. And oh boy, Clary's gonna be going through it. I mean, she's been going through it this entire season, but now we're really going to start seeing some real changes in Clary's personality here in the next couple of episodes. So we have this little moment at the hospital where Maya and Simon want to go and talk to Nora, which is the girl that Heidi attacked. Oh boy, was that 2 episodes ago or was that 1 episode ago? I'm already losing track of what happened in what episode. Anyway, it's the girl that Heidi attacked and encantoed to lie to Jordan and Simon. And they want to talk to her because if he can uncanto, like redo the canto that Heidi placed on her, there's a way that she can give evidence that Heidi is the one who's behind all of this. But sadly, lo and behold, Heidi gets there first, and she basically encantos her again, but this time she tells her to hold her breath, which basically means stop breathing so you can die and you won't spill my dirty little secrets to the Shadowhunters. And I was not happy about that. She keeps like adding these check marks to the list of things that make me want to hate her even more. And just, again, I don't, Heidi is a character I've never liked because there was never any motivation for who she was as a character. I don't understand why she feels the need to do all of these things, if she's just doing it for sick kicks or if there's a real reason behind it. Let's move on before I just go on a rant about how much I hate Heidi, or how much we hate Heidi, because I don't know any person out there who likes Heidi at all. Let's move on to a cute little moment between Magnus and Alec. Magnus goes in to talk to Alec, and basically just brings up the whole Underhill situation. One of my favorite bits of this whole scene was when Magnus is like, do you think he's handsome, being Underhill? And Alec is like, I guess? Which I think was the best reaction. That whole banter between them over basically Magnus being jealous, although he'll deny it to the ends of the earth, that was just so, so cute. And that smile on Alec's face when he realizes that, that Magnus is jealous, jealous about someone being attracted to him, his smile was the most precious thing I think I've ever seen. I don't think I've ever seen Alec look that, like, excited and happy and thrilled. And, you know, and that's kind of great that he took it in a light way, because obviously he can be like, there's no one who compares to you. He could take it kind of in a harsh way. But he saw it as, like, kind of like this funny, eye-opening thing about Magnus is that, hey, he gets jealous. I mean, I just thought that whole scene was absolutely adorable. And then we get another adorable little moment when Simon calls Alec, and he's like, Alec, it's Simon, the Daylighter. And Alec is just like, I know who you are. And like that, oh, there's been so many, there was a lot of good quotes this episode. That was just absolutely, I love that so much. But anyway, Simon calls Alec to let him and Magnus know that Nora is in some trouble because obviously Heidi got to her first, so he's asking for Magnus to go and heal her to get her out of her unconsciousness, which, as we know, the more Magnus uses his magic, it's just kind of slowly domino into something very, very serious. Also, while we're still at the hospital, we see Maya, who's left Simon behind, and she ends up stealing this syringe that was lying on some sort of a table. And now she's ready to go and face Heidi herself. She realizes that no one is going to stop her, and if she's not going to do something about it, she's just going to keep causing havoc and mayhem and just make this complete mess. So she's got to do something to stop her. And then we have this really interesting little interaction between Clary and Jonathan, who just shows up out of nowhere. And there actually is a clip of that, so I'm going to go ahead and play that. Beautiful night in New York to hopefully not have a breakdown over your connection to your evil brother.
Beautiful night, isn't it?
What the hell are you doing?
What? Why is he there, actually?
I was gonna ask you the same thing.
Was this some kind of trap?
I don't know, you tell me. I find it hard to believe that our meeting here is a pure coincidence.
Real, I mean, you are connected by runes, so...
I have my own business to take care of, and yet as I was walking by, I felt a sudden urge to stop. Here you are.
His way of talking is a little weird in this scene.
You must have felt it too.
Oh boy.
It seems that our rune has brought us together.
Oh boy. I don't know, just the way that Luke Baines portrayed that scene, I just am like... He plays Jonathan so well. He just brings on that creep charm factor so much, and it just sends this weird, like, chill throughout my body whenever I hear... Especially in that scene, the way he talks is very, very interesting. But, basically we have this little conversation about, you know, how Jonathan says, like, we belong together, and sooner or later you're gonna come and join me. And then, of course, Clary denies, but the interesting point is that, when she pulls out her phone to call someone at the Institute, she doesn't end up doing anything. And then Jonathan even brings that up, is like, well, why haven't you called for backup? Why haven't you called the Institute or whoever? And that is a good point. She doesn't, I don't know, here's my question. I don't know if the rune, like, what, is that rune the true cause of these dark impulses that Clary is feeling? Or is it because she's connected to Jonathan? Like, is it the rune itself? Or is it that she's connected with that rune to Jonathan? I'm leaning toward the latter only because I figure if that rune were placed on two people who, and one wasn't evil, that wouldn't make a difference. So my theory is that it's her connection to her demon brother Jonathan, and that's the real reason for her dark impulses coming through. I could be wrong, and if you want to argue, and if you want to kind of combat that with your own theory, feel free to leave those comments. But that is my theory about that, because I don't see how the rune itself would be the cause of all this. Maybe it would be because Lilith is the one who placed it on her. Maybe that's the other side of that argument. I don't know. But anyway, we return back to the hospital where Magnus brings Nora back with his magic, and we notice that the ringing is back in his head again, except it sounds a little louder, and he looks like he's uncomfortable, probably even more than he was in the beginning of the episode. But now that Nora is back, she basically tells everyone, which is Magnus, Alec, and Simon, the truth. Now they know, and now it is off to find Heidi to bring her to justice. But it's not the Shadowhunters that do it. It ends up being Maya, with our second badass woman face-off between Maya and Heidi. Something that we've been wanting for quite some time, for Heidi to get some action and for someone to kick her little ass. They end up fighting, and what we think is a regular bite when Heidi bites Maya in the neck turns out that Maya was one step ahead. Because my whole thought when she grabbed the syringe was that she was going to inject Heidi with something, I didn't know what. That was my thought. But no, Maya actually injects herself with holy water. And when Heidi takes that big bite out of her neck, she basically just has this real reaction to a lot of holy water. And she basically just, grabs at herself and lies there on the ground, disintegrates into ash, and we can all start singing, ding dong, the witch is dead, the wicked bitch, ding dong, the wicked bitch is dead. I was so happy to finally see Heidi gone. She has caused so much shit to happen, not only in this episode, but in a lot of episodes that she has ever been in the show. And although Tessa, the actress who plays her, did a fantastic job, Heidi was just a bitch, a wicked bitch, and I'm so glad that she's finally gone. And as Maya said it perfectly, I'll see you in hell. So finally she's gone, we can move on. And moving on includes Clary, Dark Clary Sign 2 coming out when Clary decides to burn her hand in the fireplace in her room. Yeah. And again, if Jace hadn't intervened, I don't know how much further that whole hand burning incident would have gone. And obviously this is a major sign to Jace in particular, who already had suspicion that there was something wrong with Clary, probably since last episode when she couldn't turn Jonathan in, that there's something really wrong. So he suggests that they take her to the Silent Brothers to see if they can remove the rune. I don't know if that's going to help much. We'll find out next episode. But now Jace has some suspicion that there's something very wrong with Clary, and that this is going to need a lot of help to kind of resolve itself. We had our last little scene with Izzy and Raphael where they finally say goodbye in a very sweet and touching moment, and they say that, they're always going to care about each other, which is very sweet. And I think that though their romantic relationship never really amounted to anything, and it never would have, their friendship, I think, is going to mean a lot to Izzy and to Raphael as well. So that was a really sweet moment. But here's something I didn't think about until I watched the episode again just today. If he's being sent to the Clave, does that mean he's gonna go to the Guard? And does that mean that all of these vampires are gonna be tortured, Raphael included? Because we've already been hinted that there's something shady going on at the Guard. Does that mean they're gonna go, and if they're gonna be experimented on? Because first off, that would make a very interesting storyline if that does happen, but obviously we don't want our characters, especially Raphael, to go through that torture process, because we've already seen it's painful, it's forcing something on them against their will. So I don't know if this is going to escalate this sort of motivation for Izzy to figure out what's going on with the Guard. I don't know. I highly suspect that that's the case. I could be wrong, but we'll have to wait and see on how that will unfold. So Alec confronts Maya over what happened with Heidi, but Maya's basically like, you know what? I didn't technically kill her. She attacked me. She killed herself, which is technically true, but also technically she did kill Heidi. But Alec doesn't have anything to really stick to Maya. And also I don't think he sees the point in arresting Maya for something like this, because Heidi was causing a lot of problems. So he lets her go. And then we have this little conversation between Simon and Maya, where Simon is very upset at the outcome of how this all happened, which okay, here's the thing. I understand that Simon is a very protective person and he likes to do things the right way, quote unquote. But come on, even he has to admit that Heidi had to be taken care of. If that meant her dying, that meant she had to die. And honestly, if Maya hadn't done something, she would have kept on doing all these crazy antics, going on and creating havoc all around her and everyone that she knows. There was no way she was going to stop. So I think Maya, at the end of the day, did the right thing in taking care of her, because she was not going to stop, no matter what. And so I don't understand why Simon is that upset, but the one line that I think just encapsulates this episode so much is when he says, "There's a system for a reason, and if we keep breaking the rules, what makes us better than her?" And that probably brings together this whole episode perfectly, because the decisions that we make, that there are rules in place for those rules. And if we, go outside of those rules, if we bend them or if we break them, there can definitely be consequences or bad things can happen to you. We saw that with Alec a little bit in this episode when he basically let Heidi go. We saw that with also, in a sense, Alec believing Heidi. Izzy with her decision about Raphael and how it led to the current situation that they are in. And we finally get to the other reason why decisions and your rationalization does not always work and can bring you down, is with Magnus. But before we get to that, we have a cute little moment yet again with Alec and Magnus. It starts off kind of bad because Alec is saying that Magnus should move out of the Institute, that he needs to withhold his position and follow the rules. But he ends up following that up with asking Magnus if he finds a new place, if he can move in with him. So basically, what we had happened earlier in season 3, it's coming back now, but I think enough has happened in between that episode and this episode for them to realize, it's not too fast if we want to move in together. We've been through a lot and all that sort of stuff. I think now it's time for us to start our own lives together truly and have our own home. And I just thought that's so sweet. And one of my other favorite lines is, after he says, I think we should move in together, Magnus is like, "Only if I get a walk-in closet." Such a Magnus line, and I love it to death. But sadly, it does not last very long, because the minute they kind of come to this conclusion about their relationship, it's when Magnus starts bleeding through his nose, coughs up blood, and starts to seize on the floor. It's the dreaded scene that we saw in the trailer that I freaked out about, and I am very, very concerned about Magnus. I am very nervous about... Now, obviously, I know that Magnus is going to survive. We've seen pictures, behind-the-scenes photos that haven't been shown on the show yet, and we know he's going to be okay. We know he's going to be alive. He's not going to die, but I don't know how this is going to affect Magnus. Is he going to lose his magic again, or is he going to maybe get his actual magic back? Is Lorenzo going to be involved with saving him, or is someone else going to come in? Is Asmodeus finally going to come into the picture? I have got a lot of questions about how Magnus is going to pull through this. And even if he does, what is this going to mean for him in the future? This is going to be a lot of strain, not only on Magnus himself, but this is probably going to strain his relationship with Alec a little bit. But I'm a little worried for Magnus. And also, I didn't see this until I was on Instagram and someone posted this, but I noticed that he was speaking in Indonesian when he was starting to seize on the floor, which also goes to show, he was in that much pain from the ringing in his head and from this strange magic that's obviously affecting his body badly. He was in so much pain that he starts speaking in his native tongue, which is Indonesian, and he basically says, "My head, please help me, it hurts." Hearing that, I realized he was speaking Indonesian. I didn't know what it meant, though. That broke my heart so much to just see him not only convulsing on the floor with blood coming out of him, but the fact that he's in so much pain he resorts to his native tongue. It's just breaking my heart, breaking my heart. And that, of course, that's how the episode ends, and we're gonna have to wait until next episode, which is gonna be a big episode, a lot of things happening. I don't know if I'm physically or mentally prepared or emotionally prepared to deal with this, but we're gonna have to wait and see. Hopefully we can all survive next episode. But on that note, I'm gonna end the video here. If you guys liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Leave me comments down below. What did you think of this week's episode? Leave me your theories, your comments, anything you want to say. I would love to read them. And if you want to see my future videos or videos I've already done, go ahead, hit subscribe and hit the little bell icon so you can be notified when my videos come out. That's all I have for you guys today, and until the next video, bye! Mwah.